So to make this lovely little trick-or-treat basket, we'll need some white yarn and some black yarn. We don't need much. I'm actually just using a scrap ball of black yarn. It's a number 4 weight acrylic yarn. I'll actually link in the description all of the items that I'm using. We'll need a pair of scissors. That's to cut the yarn. I'm going to be working with a 5mm crochet hook. And we'll also need a darning needle for this project. To begin, we're going to start with our yarn and create a magic ring. So, for those who aren't familiar, hold your yarn tail end between your thumb and forefinger. I like to use 3 fingers and wrap it around, tail end towards you, and then kind of lay it back across the string. With your crochet hook, pull up a loop from underneath and out, and then from here we're going to chain 2, and then we're going to make 12 double crochets into the ring. So yarn over, go into the ring, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through your first 2 loops, yarn over, and go through your last 2 loops. And you want to create 12 of those. Now that we have our 12 double crochets into the ring, we'll pull our tail of our magic ring in order to close. Now for our start, our first chain 2 of the round do not count as a stitch, so we're going to slip stitch into the top of that first double crochet of the round in order to join. So we slip stitch into there, and there we are with row 1. For row 2, we're going to chain 2. This does not count as a stitch. And then we want to put 2 double crochets into that same stitch where we slip stitched into. And then 2 double crochets into each stitch, going all the way around the entire circle. So you should have made, by the end, 24 double crochet stitches. And then at the end, we're going to slip stitch into the top of the first double crochet stitch of the round in order to join. So here we are, we've completed round 2. For round 3, we're going to chain 2. And then into that same stitch where we slip stitched into to join, we're going to put 2 double crochets. And then we're going to put 1 double crochet into the next stitch. And then we're just going to repeat 2 double crochets into one stitch, and then into the next stitch, 1 double crochet. And we're going to repeat this going all the way around the entire circle. So for this round, we'll have made 36 total double crochet stitches. And at the end, once again, this chain 2 does not count as a stitch. We're going to slip stitch into the top of that first double crochet stitch in order to join. Here we've just completed round 3. For round 4, we're going to chain 2, and into that same stitch that we slip stitched into to join, we'll put 2 double crochets, and then we'll put 1 double crochet into the next 2 stitches. And then our repeat for the round is simply the same thing. Into the next stitch is 2 double crochets, and then 1 double crochet into the next 2 stitches. And we're going to repeat that all the way around. So this row should have a total of 48 double crochet stitches made. And we're going to slip stitch into the top of the first double crochet of the round in order to join, because once again these chain 2 do not count as a stitch. So here we are at the end of round 4. Round 5, we chain 2, then into that same stitch that we slip stitched into to join the round, we're going to put 2 double crochets into that first stitch. Then we're going to put 1 double crochet into the next 3 stitches. And then we just repeat. So 2 double crochets into our first stitch, 1 double crochet into our next 3 stitches. And we just repeat that going all the way around. And once we get to the end, we'll slip stitch into the top of that first double crochet stitch of the round in order to join. The chain 2 is not counted as a stitch for this one. And this round will end up having a total of 60 double crochet stitches made. So we've just finished round 5. For round 6, we'll once again chain 2, and then into that same stitch where we slip stitched into to join, we're going to put 2 double crochets, and then we're going to put 1 double crochet into the next 4 stitches. And then we just repeat that going all the way around. So 2 double crochets into your first stitch, 1 double crochet into your next 4 stitches, and then once we get to the end, we're going to slip stitch into that first double crochet of the round in order to join. In this round, we'll end up having a total of 72 double crochet stitches made. All right, so we have finished round 6. So for our next round, what we're going to do is we're going to work in back loops only. So front loop is the one closest to us, and back loops are the one farthest away. So we skip the first stitch and the second stitch, and then into the third stitch here, we want to put 5 double crochets. All right, and then we want to skip 2, and then we'll slip stitch into the third stitch. And then we're going to skip 2 stitches and double crochet 5 times into that third stitch. And then skip 2 and slip stitch into that third stitch, and we just want to keep repeating that going all the way around the entire piece, making sure we're only working in back loops only. All right, so we finished round 7 with our wavy little ends for the bottom of our basket. Now this part here is completely optional. You can if you want, or you don't need to either. You can if you want more of a rigid bottom. Right here, you want to trace the very center of it out onto a piece of cardboard, roughly about 8 inches piece. A lot of people use a old pizza box, but if you do, please make sure there's no food at all stuck onto that. It's quite gross. So you can go ahead and trace, but then cut it out slightly inside the line so that it is slightly smaller of right here. So just flip it over, line it up, trace it, and then cut it slightly smaller. And you can put that as like a little rigid bottom into your bag. Now we're back here at the beginning. Yeah, we didn't slip stitch. We're like 1 stitch off. So what we're going to do from here is chain 2. And then we're going to double crochet going into the front loops of everything onto this side. And double crochet into each stitch all the way around. We should end up with a total of 72 double crochet stitches made. So yes, we're working into the front loops. And what this does is creates these little entrails of the ghost towards the bottom. So we just double crochet now into the front loops. So that just kind of forces those facing towards the bottom, and this works up the side. So go ahead and double crochet into each stitch going all the way around. And then once you're back at the beginning, slip stitch into the first double crochet stitch of the round in order to join. And that will be round 8. All right, so here we've completed the first round for the side of our Halloween bucket. Now what we want to do is simply repeat this round. So chain 2, double crochet into the next 72 stitches, and then slip stitch into the first double crochet of the round. And we want to repeat that 11 more times, so until we have 12 total rows. And I will meet you back here as soon as you finish your 12th row. All right, here we are. We've done 12 of the repeats of 72 double crochets per row. Now, for the top, we want to close it up just a little bit. So we're going to chain 2. And then we're going to double crochet decrease and into this row, but for here we're going to start and double crochet into the same stitch where we slip stitch to join and into the next 3 stitches. So we have 4 double crochets. Now we want to double crochet decrease, which takes 2 stitches. So we start off, we yarn over, go into the stitch, pull up a loop, yarn over, and go through our first 2 loops. Yarn over, go into the next stitch, pull up a loop, yarn over, and go through your first 2 loops. Now we have 3 loops on our hook, yarn over, and go through all 3 stitches. And then we want to just repeat, so double crochet into your next 4 stitches. And then double crochet decrease. And we want to repeat that all the way around the entire opening of our basket. And then once we get to the end, we want to slip stitch into the first double crochet stitch of the round in order to join. All right, so we've done our first row of decreases, also known as this would have been row 20. And so for our next row, because we want to decrease it just a little bit more, we're going to chain 2. And then we're going to double crochet into that same first stitch that we slip stitched into to join. And then we want to double crochet into the next 2 stitches. So double crochet into 3 stitches and then double crochet, decrease, and then we simply want to repeat that going all the way around. So double crochet into your next 3 stitches, and then double crochet, decrease, and repeat that going all the way around. And then once you get to the beginning, slip stitch into your first double crochet of the round in order to join. All right, now we have finished that row. So for our next, what we're going to do, we're starting on the strap. So we chain 2, then we want to double crochet into the same stitch that we came out of. Then we want to double crochet into the next 4 stitches. So for this, we would have created 5 double crochet stitches, and then chain 2, turn our work, and then here we got in 2 where we brought our chain out of, we're going to double crochet into there and into the next 4 stitches. So essentially we're just starting and then double crochet 5 stitches across, chain 2, turn our work, double crochet starting into that first stitch where we chained out of. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and we want to keep repeating this until we have a total of 27 rows created. And I'll meet you back here as soon as we have all of those, and I'll show you how to add it on to the other side. All right, so we've done our 27 rows for our strap. Now what we want to do is fold over our strap without twisting it at all. And the side where our tail, working end of our tail is, from that side we want to count over 23 stitches around the top of the bag. I've already counted and set a marker inside of that stitch. So we're going to want to use the slip stitch method to attach this into that 23rd stitch. So what we're going to do is on the side of the bag, we're going to use the front loop, go into there with our tail end going underneath of where we're working across. So it's going underneath. So we use the front loop of the bag, and then we're going to go into the back loop of the strap, and then we're going to yarn over and pull through all 3 loops on our hook. And then we're going to repeat that into our next stitch, front loop, back loop, yarn over, and pull through all 3 loops. All right, and then we're also going to use that chain stitch. So go into the front loop and then just into that top chain. And then we're going to go ahead and tie it off. I like to make just a little chain right there, just to help secure it a little bit more. And so that stitch creates a very nice little flawless seam right across. And you can go ahead and use your darning needle and weave in your ends. So we have the base of the bag created. So next we want to do is creating the face for it. So for our next step of this project, we want to create the eyes. For this, we're going to want to make 2 of these. So we're using our black yarn. We'll create our slip knot. And then we're going to chain 5. Now this 5th chain is where we're going to be working out of. So we're going to go ahead and chain 2. These chain 2 do not count as a stitch. And into that chain 5, or now it'd be the 3rd chain from the hook, we want to put 5 double crochets into that chain. All right, and then into our next 3 chains, we want to put 1 double crochet, and we're working in only 1 loop of that chain. And then into our last chain, we want to put 5 double crochets. All right, we have our 5 double crochets into there. If yours comes loose a little bit, because that is where the chain where the slip knot was, just give it a little tug to tighten it up. And then into the other side of the chain, the next 3 stitches, working down the other side, we want to put 3 more, 1 double crochet into each of the next 3 chains. And then we had our first 2 chains from the first chain 2, which are not a stitch, so we want to slip stitch into the top of that first double crochet of the round in order to join. And then we can tie off, but we want to leave an extra long tail because we're going to be using this to sew it onto the body of our bag. So here we are. Here is 1 of the eyes. So go ahead and make another 1 of those eyes. And you can go ahead and weave in this back tail if you have any left over. So make 2 of those. All right, and now we still need to make our mouth for our little ghost bag. So just like the eyes, we're going to start with our slip knot. And then we're going to chain 7. All right, so we have our chain 7. And that 7th chain right there is where we're going to start working out of. So chain 2. And then into that 7th chain, or now the 3rd chain from the end, we're going to put 5 double crochets into there. And now working down the side of these chains, we want to put 1 double crochet into each of the next 5 chains, working in only 1 loop. Now into our last chain, or this would have been the first chain created of the round, we're going to double crochet 5 times into that stitch. And then coming back down the other side of this chain, we're going to double crochet 1 time into the next 5 chains. And then we're going to slip stitch into the top of that first double crochet of our round. So we had our chain 2, and right here is the top of the first double crochet. We're going to slip stitch right in there to join. There's the first round for the mouth. Now the second round for the mouth, we're going to chain 2. This does not count as a stitch. Then into that same stitch where we slip stitch to join, we're going to put 2 double crochets into that stitch. And then into each of the next 4 stitches, we're going to put 2 double crochets into each of those. Now we're working down the side of it. So we're going to want to put 1 double crochet into each of the next 5 stitches. And then at the end here, we're going to want to put 2 double crochets into each of the next 5 stitches. And then to finish up this round, we want to put 1 double crochet into each of the next 5 stitches. And then we're going to slip stitch into the top of the first double crochet of the round in order to join. And then we'll simply tie off. And once again, leave these tails extra long. I'm leaving about 18 inches just because I'd rather snip off more than not have enough. And so there is the mouth, and we'll be right back and show you how to attach the eyes and mouth. All right, so now we're going to start with attaching our eyes. So what we're going to do is find that side right where our at the handle, and follow it down 2 rows so we're not dealing with all the decreases. Then count over 9 stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And right here will be the top of the first eye, so that will go right into that very top stitch. So we're going to take our eye, and we're simply, and I like to put it with the right side facing up. So if you look at one of our eyes, you can kind of see the ridges for the where our stitches are. We can see the loops a little easier on the one side than the other. So I'm going to use the side with the loops up, and we just come in and attach and sew it right on into there. And we're working over just about only as much as we need to, and we are using the back loops. And we're just following along. Make sure to lay your eye kind of flat down. Now for coming down the side, what we're going to do is follow, see our top of our eye went between from 2 rows down into the 3rd row down. That's where it went to. So now if this one, it would be our 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th. So the end of the eye comes down. We'll see 4 rows and then into the space between those 2 rows. So our eye is taking up essentially 4 rows. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and then the bottom of it will go between the next 2 rows, 4th and 5th, or 6th and 7th row down from the top. So continue using your darning needle and attaching the eye to the bag. And then follow right up the other side. Then we can go ahead and tie off and then weave in the end. I do like to weave in that end into the eye specifically, just so it's nice and hidden for all the ends of the yarn. And then we just repeat this process, same for the other side. So we come down 2 rows, so we follow the stitches and then come across 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So that 9th stitch is where the top of the eye will go between the 2nd and 3rd rows from the top. And so we just attach the 2nd eye right into that spot. We're now to adding on the mouth onto our ghost. So for placement of this one, it gets a little bit easier. So it's between, if we look at the bottom, between the 1st and 2nd row is where the bottom of the mouth will attach to. And then we follow up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So the top of the mouth will go between the 8th and 9th row. And you want that centered in between. And if you follow from right around the end of it, there should be about 4 stitches over on either side until it kind of disappears behind where the mouth will go. And so we simply, just like for the eyes, working in the back loops, we simply come through and work the mouth, attaching it to the remainder of the bag. And yes, you could use different stitches in order to attach your mouth to your bag. Only thing I have to say is careful, do not stitch it to the other side of the bag. This is where, if you did opt to use that piece of cardboard, it would be a nice little blocker so that if you do get weary of stitches, it'll prevent it from stitching right through to the back side. Another thing too is helpful using your hand in the back, as the darning needles are kind of a blunt tip, so you don't stab yourself. And once you've gone all the way around, you can go ahead and tie off and weave in your last little end here. And there we have our ghost Halloween candy holder. Or also a nice little basket for inside of the house for decoration also during the fun Halloween holidays. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, be sure to give it a little thumbs up like, and let me know in the comment section anything. And if you have yet to subscribe, go ahead and hit that little subscribe button. And there's a little bell next to it. You can hit that so you can get a notification whenever I upload new videos. Thank you so much for watching. Hope you have a wonderful day.